Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 258. How are you folks doing this week? I trust you are all staying safe, you're all well, taking precautions, and of course, enjoying the changes of the seasons. Yep, it's coming up. Fall colors just starting to show up in the Montana area where I'm at now in New Mexico. Hasn't got here. So I hope where you're at, you're enjoying it or getting ready for it. Hey, thanks you guys for the love notes this past week, this last podcast. I got some really cool ones and it seemed to have helped a number of folks. Well, at least the 4 or 5 that reached out to me. And I'm glad to hear and thank you for telling me that this stuff does make a difference. It's important to me. That's why I keep doing it. So thank you so much for your support. I also need to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. I know every podcast you hear me talk about these guys, but more and more of you are taking advantage of the incredible services and prices they present us. And don't forget PhotoCon, which is coming up, which is the education. These guys are here for us, and I am ever so grateful for their support for the Moose Podcast. So make sure when you call, you use the website, you email, not only say thanks for sponsoring the Moose Podcast, but also remember to use that special code MOOSE. It's going to save you some real money. So thank you, Bedford Camera. Well, I want to get right into this week's podcast, Scouting. As some of you might be aware, I am right now in New Mexico. I'm just outside of Cimarron in the gorgeous Philmont Scout Ranch. Got a week-long workshop here that it's going to be kick butt. I'm here to tell you. And some of you might be aware, but most of you probably are not, that I am an ex-scouter in the fact that along with my brothers, myself, and my nephews were all Eagle Scouts. All that is in large part because of my father, who was a recipient of the Silver Beaver. And scouting, it's like so many things. You know, the old, you're in a math class and you're wondering why you're learning this math and what good is it going to do for you when you grow up. I have to admit there are some things in scouting that at the time, no idea why I was learning it. Yet it gave me really an amazing, odd set of skills that I have been using almost daily since getting into photography. Now, I want to talk about scouting. No, not Boy Scouting, but what I'm doing here on the Philmont Scout Ranch is why I thought I should talk about scouting. In the fact that I have been with 2 really great guys, Michael and Roger, spending some days here literally covering as much as you can by vehicle the Philmont Scout Ranch. It's 145,000 square acres. 145,000 square acres. There is a lot of property. It goes from 6,600 elevation to over 12,000 foot. It's got, as far as I know, the only prairie dog town that's over 9,000 feet in the country. It's just an amazing place with bison and elk and pronghorn and grouse and oh man, I think I'm up to 50 some odd bird species. Now, what I've been doing though for the last few days is not going after critters, but scouting locations. I know, double play on words. I'm well known for it. Couldn't pass it up. Scouting locations for taking our students this week. I got a full workshop to go out and shoot. Now, the goal of the workshop is to motivate folks, inspire them, and to have fun. So the scouting locations have to have a number of things involved in that being a location I'm going to take people too. You've got the basics. Is there a photograph there, right? What's the basics? Talking about having a subject, having a story you want to tell, a time of day to be there in which the light will help in that process. That's the very minimal basics for a location I'm going to take folks to shoot. Another big part of it is it a teaching moment. Is there something there that will challenge all the photographers, no matter who they are and whether they are in their photography pursuits, both at the camera and later on in the digital darkroom? So that's part of it as well. Now, how do I go about scouting those locations? That's really what I want to talk about. You could apply everything I'm talking about in this podcast into any place you want to go and shoot for the first time, the 100th time, whatever time you want to go there. How do you plan where to be at the right time to get the shot you want? Now, there's a number of factors involved in this. For this week, I've got a very defined time in which the participants can eat in the dining hall. And omelets in the morning, custom made, I don't want to get in the way of any photographer and that kind of a breakfast. So I have to think about that. Lunch and dinner, not as important as that first meal, but that first meal, you've got what? Sunrise. So scouting locations. First and foremost, what we're doing is we're going to a number of locations that Roger and Michael know already. Both of them are professional scouters. They are both photographers for Boy Scouts of America. Michael's been staff here at Philmont, and Roger's been coming to Philmont almost since Philmont was created. So yeah, they're as old as I am, at least. So we're starting off with locations that they think that I would like to take people to for landscape shots. So what we're doing is we get in the vehicles and we've got killer staff from the Scout Ranch here taking us to these places. So the first logistic thing to think about in these shoots is what? The travel time. Now, these roads, we're not talking about a blacktop highway. We're talking about a road that when I got to the first location, after getting there, I looked at my iPhone at the health meter to see how many steps I had taken, because I know I only had taken a few hundred steps. But by the time we got up to Bambito's Meadow, I had over 13,000 steps. That's how bumpy the road is, right? So that travel time, that's the first thing you need to think about in scouting a location you want to shoot, that travel time. At the same time, you have to think about the condition of that road. Now, a number of the vehicles here have broken frames. The frame of the vehicle is broken. That's because of some of the roads we're going on. You might not be aware, but Philmont Scout Ranch, they have all these treks. They had 25,001 person on the trails this summer. That's how big it is and how many trails they have and how many folks are out there. They're not driving, they're walking. So the roads aren't made for, what we're doing. You got to think about that when you are doing your logistical look for scouting. Because that travel time, let's say you want to be at the big boulder for sunrise. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at what time is sunrise. And right now here, sunrise is at 6:43. So 6:43, I'm going to make it easy on myself. I'm going to say 6:45. That means that I want to be in place, as in parked, camera gear out of the vehicle, ready to shoot. So in place, no later than 6:15. And if you have a group, and especially the first morning, you should be arriving and turning the engine off at your location at 6 a.m. That way you're there for when the sunrise comes up. Because 6:45 means when the sun hits the horizon and we see it. Doesn't mean all that great color beforehand. That's why you need to be in place at least 30 minutes early. So you got to sit there and do the math. If you need to be there at 6 a.m. and you've got a 75-minute drive, what time do you need to leave? Then you take that, what time you leave, how long does it take to get from your room to the vehicle? And then how long does it take to get out of your room each morning? So you have to do all that backtracking and planning in that. So that's part of the scouting. What else do you need to do? Well, some of the locations we go to is we're not getting there at the prime shooting time. So then I use an app called Sunseeker. And Sunseeker, it brings up, and there's many different views, from a compass rose to 3D to an actual picture. It shows you exactly, literally, where the sun's going to come up on the ridge or the valley or the landscape, exactly where it's going to come up. Then it shows you its travel, its path through the sky. So you can look at that. Look at where you're at. You can look at the subjects. You can see if they're going to be front lit, side lit, back lit. You can decide if that's the scenario you want. You can look then at any kind of weather apps. Mine right now is called Travel Weather. It's my favorite app. You can look at the winds. You can look at the clouds. You can pretty effectively forecast, even though you're not shooting prime time, no matter what time you get to that scouting location, what time you need to be there. So let's say, for example, you are heading to the south rim of the Grand Canyon and you want to go to Hermit's Rest. You can drive all day from home, get to Hermit's Rest like at 1 or 2 p.m. And you can pull out Sunseeker. You can pull out your weather app. You can look where the sun's going to come up, what time is going to come up, the weather is going to be there the next morning. You can time the drive from Hermit's Rest to where you're spending the night. You can do all that logistical thinking. So then the next morning, and you got to make sure, and this is really important, that you write this all down. Don't chance it to memory. All this information, so then you are ready that night with confidence to go to bed, get a good night's sleep, and knowing that you're going to be in place. And if the photo gods are good to you, you're going to get that shot. So your scouting has to take all of that into account. But there's more. You might go to a location and you're going to look at it and say, wow, this might not be really a good place for color photography. It's better for black and white. Oh, for black and white, I might not want to be there in those early or late hours. I need to be here when? Again, I would pull out Sunseeker. And with black and white, shadows are so important. So when I'm scouting a location, I'm going to look at those shadows. I'm going to figure out what direction they're pointing and how long they're going to be. And there's a ton of information on like your iPhone that you can figure this all out. So when you're scouting, you can say, okay, in the morning, I'm going to be here. Then I'm going to be here for breakfast. And that's really important part of scouting is those couple of meals. I always, breakfast and dinner, kind of need to have those meals. And then from breakfast, I have this shoot this time of day or that shoot. Or, and here's the important part of scouting, you've got to remember to take some time and learn about the area because that will definitely influence your photography. Let me give you an example. I'm here, like I said, on the Philmont Scout Ranch. And we're bopping along, and Roger and Michael, they said, there's a T-Rex print here, a track. I said, say what? They said, yeah, we saw it, and I think the last time we saw it was like 2 decades ago. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we go up to Indian Writing, and we're coming out back down. We're looking for this spot that has the T-Rex footprint. Now, in case you're wondering about T-Rex footprints, there are literally only 2 confirmed Tyrannosaurus Rex footprints in the world. There's only 2. One of them is here at Philmont. You look at and you see I have the photograph of it there. Now, not everybody, what is it? It's a rock, right? with a print in it. But to me, part of scouting is the adventure of looking at that location, and you got to make sure you take in all those kind of. You just don't know that T-Rex print or the petroglyphs. You don't know what any of those things. I'm just talking about my personal experiences from today will bring in. And when people make suggestions, and when you're doing the scouting, you got to talk up people at breakfast and lunch and where they've been. I mean, there's a very well-known scene in my landscape class for Kelby 1 where I talk about how we first learned about the Valley of Gods because Sharon chatted up some people at breakfast. So you're scouting, you've got to think about not just the photography, lenses, exposure, that kind of stuff. You got to think more about not just the light and when you want to be there, but the entire experience for when you're there. So scouting is a multifaceted, multi-layered process in which you're taking in all this information that you want to narrow down to the viewfinder for that single click that you can take back to somebody and say, you need to be here. And that's what the scouting is all about. I really thank you guys for once again dropping by. Give me some of your very, very special time. And I hope you're out there enjoying that time with your camera. And please make every click your story.